Take your time with the Samba Tree salsa.
All right, here we go. Welcome again to another live broadcast. Today is May the 25th, 2026. We got a lot to cover today. We're going to jump right into the news today, you guys. We're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about the NAACP and what really is going on behind the scenes with this whole boycott thing. And there's also another black political group. They pulled a fast one on black folks too, all during this time. We're going to get into the details of it. These folks are counting on you not to read, but the Negroes here, we read. We're going to get into that. We're going to also talk about some other news. We're also going to get into this AI revolution. Folks, there's not enough of us talking about this thing and the negative impact it is having right now across the nation. So we're going to get into that. We got a full clip today. Let's go in and get into it. Remember, make sure for all your health and wellness needs, natural health and wellness needs, make sure you check out our wonderful website, which is sambatree.com. Sambatree.com. Make sure you check out that wonderful website that we have. And we've helped many, many people over the years with that. So check it out. Again, it's sambatree.com. We're going to give people about a minute or so to get on board, and then we're going to get right into it. Promise you. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys having a wonderful day today. I know that today here in the States, at least, it is Memorial Day, and it's a day of remembrance. And, for those soldiers who died, on the battlefields, on the various wars and stuff that we've had or whatever. And, there's some thoughts I have on that, and we'll be sharing that in a little bit here. But yeah, if you are one of the fortunate ones and, you had a day off, I hope you made it a good one and, a relaxing one. And out here, we are still in the 90s, 90 degrees. It got pretty warm out today for real. But yeah, because we're getting into the into those warmer months out here in the sunny, great state of Arizona. So yeah, so if you're going to visit this really ain't the time to visit because you're going to only get the heat and you're going to already mark it off and say, oh, I can't live out there. It's just too freaking hot or whatever. And it does get warm. But the other months, I promise you, it is so beautiful out here. I'm serious. It really is. So, but anyway, with that being said, let's get right into the news today. Okay. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. Now, as we all know, the NAACP, along with the Congressional Black Caucus, along with all of these other Black Greek letter organizations, They got together like Voltron with duct tape. They got together ever since this whole gerrymandering thing went down. Whoa, my goodness. We are losing our power, and we're going to have to do something about this. I know. Let's reach in our old dusty bag again, and let's scare at them. Let's scare up the niggas again. Let's do it all over again, because that's their one trick bag that they always reach into. So what did they do? They went out there and they told black people that black folks are losing our rights. That's what they kept putting out over and over again. We're losing our rights. Oh my gosh, it is a 911 event. Black people, we got to hit the streets because black people are losing their rights. Well, I personally kept reaching out to these individuals that was saying this, and I kept asking them the one question. I said, well, what rights did we lose? And I would either get blocked or I would just get ignored. Nobody would ever answer that. That's a very simple question. I said, okay, what rights are we losing? Well, black people are losing our power to vote. Well, I actually kind of looked at that, and no, nobody's losing their power to vote. You can still vote. We could still very much vote. I mean, that's not going away. So what exactly does this boil down to? And then once we kind of looked at it, we saw, what it boils down to is that you guys have been sitting in these seats for a long time. And now that now with this new legislation or this court ruling, you're going to lose those seats. So you want us to be afraid that by losing those seats, we're losing our voice. But the problem is you haven't been speaking in our voice. You've been speaking in your voice. You've been speaking your self-interest. Black Americans have been raising issues for years now, and you have constantly ignored it. Folks, let me tell you something. Let me say this again, and I have to make this I got to say this on repeat, okay? Because religion, we've talked about this. Black folks, we have two things that we hold very close to us that has been ingrained in our beings, in our psyche. And one of those things is religion. Oh, religion, we need that, particularly Christianity. We just absolutely, that is intertwined in our DNA. That's one. Two is politics. Let's look at religion, for example, or number one. We have been told that basically this is your identity. Everything you do is wrapped up in the approval of a person called Jesus. And so we're not going to get into the weeds of if Jesus was black, white, whatever. You could stay in those weeds, okay? But the fact of the matter is, regardless of what color you want to paint him, what hairstyle you want to give him, what kind of eyes you want to give him, and his full lips and his wide nose, or maybe a thin nose, whatever you're into, regardless of all of that, at the end of the day, that is tied to a lot, not all, but many black folks. And so their lives and everything they do is wrapped up in that. Whatever decision they make, it is tied to that. So if you were to take that away from black folks, it would spiral many people into an identity crisis. This is why the stuff that we put out, the content that we've been putting out for some time, questioning those things and leading and showing people, hey, listen, the facts are out there. You go look at it. We're going to lay it out for you, but the facts are there. You look at the research. You look at it. I'm going to lay it out for you, but you make the choice. You make the decision. When I do that, I understand it's very hard at times, admittedly, but I understand that there is a portion of people who will not do it, because if they dare go in that direction, they know that they're going to lose a part of their identity. And that's a very scary place for a lot of people. And trust me, they have every reason to be afraid, because it takes away a certain level of stability that you have built up over the years that has been crafted and framed by your aunties, your uncles, your parents, or whatever. And now here you got somebody telling you to question it. I'm not going to do that, because if I do that, if I start going down that road, now, brother, you may be right in what you're saying, but I cannot go down that road, because if I go down that road, I don't know, what am I going to be now? So that's religion. Now, in politics, it's pretty much the same thing, because in politics, they pull from a lot of that and they put that in politics. And so what they tell us is that your vote is actually it's kind of like the communion cracker. Think about it this way. The communion cracker is supposed to be the embodiment of Jesus, right? You know, when Jesus in the Bible says, this is my body broken for you, do this in remembrance of me, right? Well, they take that same ideology and they wrap it in the vote. And they tell us that our vote is an embodiment of black folks. So your vote represents you. That's what they tell you. But what we have been saying on this platform over and over again is this, is that, as we all know, the government is corrupt. It is a corrupt system. And I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. It is a corrupt system ran by corrupt people, okay? And anybody, I don't care where they come from, anybody that is seen as successful in a quote unquote corrupt system, by default, they are corrupt. You may not see it up front, but behind the scenes, honey, they are corrupt, because you cannot be successful in a corrupt system without you being corrupt. But somehow we tell ourselves that somehow some Johnny come whoever is going to come in on a white horse and all of a sudden is going to turn the system upside down and is going to tell them off, and the system automatically is going to hit a reset. That's not how it works. That's why you got so many black folks that will look at someone like a Jasmine Crockett, who's waving her finger and breaking her neck and all this other stuff, and she gonna tell him, and she gonna tell him off, and she gonna tell the government, and they shaking in their boots because she done read the whole room. But you see where her ass is going right now. She been voted out. All of that breaking of the neck and the waving of the finger, did it do anything? Absolutely not. It got a lot of clicks, didn't it? It got a lot of shares, didn't it? Oh, she done told them, she read the whole room. See, the thing is that we believe that rhetoric moves things. It does to a measure, but the purpose of political rhetoric is to keep you emotionally involved, is to keep you emotionally tied to the system. Because the system behind the scenes, behind the political structure, behind those closed doors, that's where the decisions are actually made. They are not made by the public little, we going off and we gonna go in on this stuff. Listen, black people, we are, when it comes to reading the room, we are masters of it. You know what I'm saying? If there was an Olympic event of reading the whole room, black folks, we would win it every time. We would win it anytime, every time. But let me ask you something. If that was so powerful, then why is it in 2026 we're still complaining about the same stuff? Same things. So we can get, you got old Maxine Waters up there. I'm going to all of that. But still, LA is still LA. Her district has been gentrified. Now, all of that smoke, all of that, her whole district's still been gentrified. Now what? Well, so much for that power. And we can go down the list of these different people that, you know, they have oratory skills. I mean, it's on point. But did those oratory skills, did they change anything? No. But we love the emotional part of it, and we tell ourselves that these public emotional arguments are what changes things, that turns the wheels in politics. It doesn't. And I'm going to show you, as I posted. If you didn't see the post that I did earlier on our community page, I will show you. Okay, I'll show it to you so that you can see for yourself. Give me just a moment. But if you're just joining us, welcome to the broadcast. So glad that you're really here. Big shout out, of course, to all the wonderful people out here that we really love you guys very much, that always show up on time here. And you're always here. You always hit that button when you see us going live. Can't thank you enough, and we really appreciate you. All right. So, but anyway, let me get this up on the screen here, and let's go ahead and get cooking here. Okay. Because I'm cooking in here right now. I didn't turn the AC up high enough. It's getting warm up anyway. So if you see me sweating, that's me. Anyway, that's why. Here we go. So here's the post right here. All right, here's the post right here. So, and I will read to you the details of this in a moment. We're going to get more into the details of what I talked about in here. Okay. Beyond what's on this post. But let me read this to you, okay, for those of you who are just joining us. Anyway, 2 members of the Congressional Black Caucus co-sponsored the SCORE Act, all right, which is very close to getting passed, but at this moment has been paused due to redistricting tantrum they are having. So the Congressional Black Caucus, they had this big old whatever press conference. They were all standing behind this pulpit saying that we're going to withhold our vote on this SCORE Act. Okay, the SCORE Act, basically, it was an act that was designed for college athletes, right? Especially in this new era that we're in with this NIL program, if you will, that's now in place, where now players have more control over their name, image, and likeness, right? And that's what the NIL stands for. And so they have more control over that, because these colleges and universities have been making millions and millions of dollars on these players. And so when we say college athletes, I mean, we're mainly talking about, football and basketball. Those are the high yield earners in these colleges and university. I mean, no shade on the archery team, but, I don't, they're not really, nobody's really wearing jerseys of someone on the archery team or the chess team. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we're really talking about football and basketball, and a good percentage of those athletes in those sports are Black youths. Okay. So anyway, on the screen, I just gave you a highlight here of in the bill, and then we're going to dig even further in the bill so that, so you really see that I'm not just making this stuff up here. The benefits would include clear NIL rights. Athletes would keep earning money from their name, image, and likeness under a national framework instead of dealing with a confusing patchwork of state laws. Now, I'm going to put an asterisk by that, and we'll come back to that in a moment, okay? Number 2, direct school payments protected. It would put the House versus the NAACP settlement into federal law, allowing schools to share athletic revenue with athletes under the settlement model, all right? Number 3, support services. Schools with more than $20 million in athletic revenue would have to provide benefits like mental health programs, legal, tax help, career counseling, degree completion help, and medical benefits for sports-related injuries. All right, so far everything's sounding good, right? Protection for smaller Olympic sports. It would require many schools to keep at least 16 varsity sports, which could help protect athletes in non-revenue sports from having their teams cut. That sounds good too, because like I said, again, it's mainly football and basketball. The other team, you don't want to see a situation where the schools shed all of those other sports, right? And just become, just turn their entire sports program into a cash cow of basketball and football, Anyway, so number 5, less confusion around agents and NIL deals. Supporters say it would improve transparency, accountability, and protections against bad actors in the NIL marketplace. That's very broad. Anyway, but here's where the part that they didn't tell you. All right. Supporters say, but here's the catch. It will also block athletes from being treated as employees. it gives the NCAA some antitrust protections and overrides many state NIL laws. And remember, I told you to put the asterisk there earlier. We'll talk about that in a second here. Critics argue that those parts could limit athletes' bargaining power and legal rights. So basically, you have states that, let's say, because what they are proposing is more on a federal level, and they want to create a kind of a national standard that all states will fall under, right? So, but let's say right now, the way the system is working, you got some states, they have they have NIL policies that are, that benefit players even more, while maybe some don't benefit them as much, right? But as an athlete, you can kind of, that gives you more versatility if you find that your college or university is not, financially, they're playing around with your money, basically. So by having it in the state's hands, yes, you got all of these different varieties out here, and yes, it's always easy to say, hey, let's just put it under a single uniform kind of system. That may be true. However, what if the single uniform system doesn't really benefit it locks down the possibilities that these athletes could have if they needed to go to court over something, right? And so what this bill does, it basically locks that down. And so the states are powerless, right? Which means that these athletes won't have as much versatility if they had to take something to court. All right. So that's one. The other thing is, which is the biggie, is that these athletes would not have the ability to unionize. They will not have the ability to unionize. So again, if the NCAA decided to, come up with some weird kind of thing where, whatever, where all of a sudden it was a gotcha clause in it. And all of a sudden now these young men and women are losing out on some other monies, right? Maybe the NCAA said, did some trick where they reclassified some of the money, and through some legalese, they're able to redivert that money from these students back to the schools. Well, there's no protection for them. You understand what I'm saying? So they could do that kind of stuff. And with this bill, it gives the NCAA as an organization the ability to play legal gymnastics around, pun intended, I guess, with these students and their money with these NIL deals, right? And so that one, you're not being able to unionize, but also goes along with that is not being able to do collective bargaining agreements. So what this era means is that we're in an era right now where some of these students, if they wanted to boycott over, NIL, a bad NIL deal, we could start seeing that. We've never seen, college students boycotting for economic reasons because they were never getting paid. But now that money is in the equation, they could very well do that, right? And also in the bill, it talks about how they will not be seen as employees, which further strips away their ability to, if they wanted to unionize, if they wanted to do a collective bargaining agreement, well, this bill would basically strip those abilities away from these athletes. This is what the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, this is what they were pushing. And so I'm going to go through real quick for you let me find it here, because I just read to you all the benefits of it. The co-sponsors, by the way, are Andy Barr, he's a Republican, Glenn Grotham, also a Republican. Then you have Stacey Plaskett. Let's put an asterisk by her name. And she represents, what was it? Not Barbados. She's out of the Virgin Islands. And she's a Democrat. She used to be a Republican, but she's a Democrat. And Jared Moskowitz, he's a Democrat as well. But Stacey Plaskett, I got sneeze here. Hold on. Sorry. Is another one coming? No. Anyway, But Stacey Plaskett, she's a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. So the NAACP, or rather the Congressional Black Caucus, they were already set to vote for this bill. Okay, this bill that I just described to you, that literally strips away, that handicaps the economic potential of these black male students. As I told you, this is really what it boils down to. No shade on black female, or rather black women basketball, but it's still on the rise. It is still on the rise as a sport in college. It's definitely still on the rise. But however, it is football and male basketball really is what leading the charge with all of this. So this is really an attack, if you will, on black male athletes. I mean, for the most part. And so here you got these ashy fools with the Congressional Black Caucus. They are up here now saying, we're not going to sign it. Well, you shouldn't have been signing it anyway. Why would you sign something like that that economically would cripple these students? Why would you sign? Why would you help put together a bill that does that? And now you want to flip it and say, well, we're not going to sign it. That's not taking a stand for black people. That's taking a stand for yourself, for your hides. Because behind the scenes, you guys were willing to work hand in hand with the NCAA to make sure that economically they were protected. So when they are standing behind that pulpit and saying they're not going to sign the bill, that's not for black people. That's not for these black athletes. They're taking a stand. They really are clapping back at the NCAA as an organization and saying, hey, listen, we were going to go along with this, but since this whole gerrymandering thing, we're not going to go along with it. Do you see what they're going? But the way they present it to black folks, they try to make it seem as if they're taking a stand for us. It has nothing to do with us. This bill itself, hold on, was 100% it was about the protection of the NCAA. That's really what it was about. The specific parts of the bill, just so that I'm just going to say this and you can look it up on your own, okay? But I'll just tell you this. The three parts of the bill that you want to focus on. They said in the current Rules Committee, print 119 to 20, page 129, these are the exact spots of the bill, all right? Section 10, employment standing, says no athlete may be considered an employee of an institution, conference, or interstate athletic association based on NIL compensation rights under the Act, team participation, or team rules. Number 2, gives the NCAA conferences antitrust protection. Section 9, liability limitation, says rules made under Section 7 shall be treated as lawful under the antitrust laws and similar state laws. So they're protecting the NCAA from any antitrust protection. From any antitrust issues. The Congressional Black Caucus behind closed doors was agreeing to make sure that the NCAA was protected from antitrust stuff. See, they're counting on you not to read. All right, number 3, override state NIL athletic compensation laws. I already went through that, but I'll just read it. This section 12, preemption, says no state or local government may enforce laws regulating athletic compensation, benefits, employment status, eligibility, recruitment, transfers, or playing season time demand rules. So they were getting rid. So again, this was really about the protection of the NCAA at the end of the day. It wasn't really for the students. It was for the protection of the NCAA. So on the public face, they're trying to show you that they're trying to make the point that we're standing up for black people. No, you ain't standing up for black folks. This had nothing to do with black people. Had nothing to do. It was about the protection of the NCAA. Not only are you co-signing on it, but you helped put together the bill. Anyway, let me see if I can pull this up here. Give me just a moment. I showed this in our short. Let me see if I can pull it up here right quick here. On our downloads, where would that be? Give me just a moment here. Let me see if I can pull that up. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. That will be under downloads. I will pull it up here in a moment. Under downloads, it's right here, and it's about to come up on the screen. There you go. Come on. There it is. All right, here we go. Let me pull this up. Can you see that? You can see that. So while the NAACP is out here trying to convince you that the Southern states is the Confederacy and that black folks need to leave the Confederacy alone, this new Confederacy, this new Jim Crow 2.0, you know, they done tarred and feathered literally the Southeast. What the NAACP will not tell you is that even now they receive monies from these companies that are based in the so-called Jim Crow Confederate states. You got Coca-Cola based in Georgia, FedEx based in Tennessee, Delta Airlines based in Georgia, UPS based in Georgia. I didn't know UPS was based in Georgia. Oh, now you know. Entergy based in Louisiana, American Airlines based in Texas, Denny's based in South Carolina, Walmart based in Arkansas, and Uncle Nearest, I don't know, you could probably put a little shade on them, like a shaded symbol on them, because they're already going deep six. So I don't know what kind of contribution, but this is based on what has up to this point. But yeah, so a lot of this contribution, one of the places that you'll see their contributions, sorry, where's my thingamajig here? Hold on. There you go. Their you know how you watch the Image Awards, the NAACP and Image Awards? Okay, well, who do you think they get that money from? You think they get it from tithes and offerings? You think black people just get together and put it in one big bucket so that they can put on this production? You think that's where it comes from? No, it comes from these companies. It comes from these very companies that are based in these states that they're telling black people, you got to stay away from them. They're telling these young black men, stay away from these schools. But behind closed doors, they're like, but our money, you know, from these companies, y'all can still please continue to send that money. You know how we got to do. We got to tell these niggas stuff. You know, we got to tell them that. But, you know, but publicly, we're going to have this face. But privately, we're going to continue to do this. You see how that works? Folks, listen, this is how politics works. It doesn't work on your hope and dreams. It doesn't move by your marching and your we shall overcomes and your reading the room. It doesn't work that way. The system is a corrupt system. I have to continue to remind you of that because there's a lot of people who still believe that they can get someone that if I could just get somebody that looks like us, they're going to change it all. One more time, it is a corrupt system, and the only people who are successful in a corrupt system, by default, they are corrupt. They are corrupt. The people that you've seen, like Tulsi Gabbard, you know, there was some things I didn't agree with her on or whatever, but you see, they got her out of there. Now, I know publicly she's saying that her husband has a, you know, I think bone cancer or something like really crazy, right? And that may be part of it, but prior to her making that announcement, I think it was the FBI or CIA or something, raided her home because she was dropping all kinds of stuff like on, the Epstein files and all that stuff, the stuff that Trump said he was going to do. She was actually putting wheels in motion, was actually going to do it. All of a sudden, the CIA, FBI, whoever came over to her house and raided her house. And now she gone. And think about some of these other politicians. Once they start crossing that line, once they start waking up to the fact, oh, snap, once they start growing the conscience, now all of a sudden they up out of there. Who was the, what's the woman name? I want to say she's in Detroit. It'll come to me in a moment. Maybe y'all remember that. But anyway, it was a black woman who was running for Congress. Anyway, she could have won. I mean, she had a good. She was recently, I think, in the running. What was her name? Tag on it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see. Give me just a moment. Anyway, it's gonna take me a minute because I'm trying to move real quick on this. But basically, she was very vocal against Israel. Very vocal against Israel. And she's losing endorsements left and right, even from black folks, because the Congressional Black Caucus has co-signed with their support of Israel. In fact, all of Congress has co-signed on Israel. See, and that's another thing. I could get into that as well. We've talked about that. That has been exposed for years and years and years. Most of Congress pretty much have co-signed on Israel. Now, again, these black politicians will get up there and they may say some things about Palestine and all of that stuff, but behind closed doors at the end of the day, like that girl, what's her name, AOC, Congresswoman out of New York, she came with fire in her chest and all that kind of stuff and saying, we got to protect the people of Palestine and all of that stuff. And if you remember, there was this one video they showed her in the chamber in Congress, where in the Capitol, she was in the chamber, she was bawling, she was crying because they basically pulled her behind the scenes and said, listen, you said all that publicly, you're going to have to change your vote. And she did. And ever since then, she's been tap dancing around Palestine all of a sudden. Because she knows that these black politicians is no different. See, these people been lying to you, y'all. They've been lying to you because they will get out here with a public face and say one thing, but behind closed doors, they are co-signing all kinds of stuff that are anti-black folks. And I don't know what else it's going to take for some of these old Negroes to see this. Some of them will never see it because they still believe that we shall over. Stop singing that stupid song. I'm going to say it. Stop singing it. Yes, I said it's stupid. Yes, my ancestors sung it, and I'm saying even now, it was a stupid song. Why am I saying it? Because why are we saying we shall overcome someday? If you are a really militant person, you don't say we shall overcome someday. You're going to say we're overcoming now. We're taking over now. It ain't no someday. Name me one United States military policy where they are telling their soldiers, we're going to overcome someday. We're going to overcome. We don't know. No, they say this is the country. We're going to take over all of this stuff, and we're doing it tomorrow. And then the day after that, by afternoon, we're going to have a press conference talking about how we took over the government. That's how you work. Meanwhile, you got black folks out here talking about, in 2026, we still singing the same song. We shall overcome someday. Someday. Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired of that? Someday. And unfortunately and sadly, a lot of these people will go right to their graves We shall overcome someday, and then die in your casket still saying someday, and then the next generation comes up and they got to sing the same song. And they sing the same song, and then they go to their graves someday, and then the next generation over and over again, that ain't doing nothing. That's not doing anything, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. And we need to wake up to that fact. But wait, there's more. Because if you continue to read the post, let me go ahead and get that up here. Let's go back to the post. In New York, well, guess what happened in New York recently? New York officials, citing shifting politics, put off reparations study another 2 years. Yeah, and let's get into the article because it's very funny how they put this together. And when they talk about the reason why they did this. New York City officials citing shifting politics put off reparations study for another 2 years. New York state officials bowing to political headwinds have agreed to push back a long-awaited report on reparations for slavery to 2029, officials said. Assembly member Michael A. Solange is chair of the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Legislative Caucus, told Gothamist the 2-year delay, which was embedded in the latest state budget, came at the request of the State Reparations Commission, charged with studying the harm tied to enslavement. Hold up. Let me back up for a second. Okay, share of the Black. All right, we got that because this is reparations for Black Americans. I get that. Puerto Rican. I'm going to say yes. We're going to put an asterisk by them because they do have their own culture, but Puerto Rican culture is heavily rooted within Black culture. It is. I mean, rather, some people will quibble about that, but it is. It's, it's like a lot of these other cultures are heavily rooted in that. I mean, let's just go with that, okay? We're just going to put an asterisk by them, okay? Now we get to the Hispanic and Asian legislative caucuses. Why are y'all, what y'all doing in the room? What you doing at the table? The Asian caucus, the Hispanic caucus. Why are you even in the room? I don't understand. Why are you even in the conversation? I don't get that. But they are. Oh, I meant to tell you, let me hold that thought for a second. The one of the politicians that I told you, let me pull that back up here. What was that? What was that under? Going back to what I was just talking about earlier. What's her name here? Stacey Plaskett. She's one of the co-sponsors of the SCORE Act. Yeah, that's the same woman we talked about where she was actually doing a line of questioning in a hearing at the Capitol. And while she's literally taking verbatim via text from Jeffrey Epstein on what questions to ask. These people are compromised. That's Stacey Plaskett. I just wanted to mention that, right? Because I forgot to mention that part. Anyway, let's go back to the article here that we was just reading. Right here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so anyway, Solange is a Nassau County Democrat, says the erosion of Black power in the South, as well as the Trump administration attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives necessitated a slower, more considered approach to the commission's work. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm confused. The article at the beginning says New York State officials. What does the South got to do with New York? What that got to do with what does that got to do with what New York does or doesn't? How do we get there? How is that even connected? But not only that, they are tying it to DEI. You remember, we're going to keep telling you over and over again, Black Enterprise Magazine found that only 6% of Black Americans actually benefited from DEI. 6%. You know who the main benefactors are for DEI? White women and LGBTQ. So these bastards are once again prioritizing other groups over Black Americans. And they want to try to throw in the Trump thing and, or whatever, the Supreme Court decision. You in New York, and you're talking about local New York politics. That's not national, that's local. But you're wanting to throw out and say, well, because of what the Supreme, that had nothing to do with y'all. That was all about the South and what was going on down there. Why are y'all changing stuff? No, you're looking for a reason to kick the can like you've always done. And they did the same thing in California. The local NAACP chapter, there was a bill that was on the desk of the governor regarding reparations. And guess who spoke out against that bill? It was the state chapter of the NAACP. They said, do not sign it. They said, instead, that money needs to go to programs. This is the NAACP. This is the same NAACP. So again, if you think that these organizations are actually for Black progress, they're not. And I'll just say this too. The real devil in the details is this. You got to remind yourself that these organizations are ran by Boule, Black Greek letter organizations. From day one, they set up a system of whatever you want to call it. They set up a tiered society, Black society, where you have Blacks on one side, or the upper educated, wealthy Black people on one side, and everybody else on the other side. And that is what they want to keep. They've always made sure that that stays the way it is. And I've talked about this in great length. I talked about, the many instances I've seen where, fraternity and sorority members will prioritize their members when it comes for hiring, because that's one of the first things they look at on resumes. If these fraternity and sorority members, if they're in a hiring position, they will look at the resumes, and the first thing they look at is if you're a fraternity and sorority member. And if you are, they will prioritize them. It doesn't matter if you're qualified or not. That's the first thing to look at. So you can't even get into the club unless economically, the impact economically on Black folks. It'll be very interesting to see the study on that. But those are one of those conversations that people do not want to talk about. They don't want to talk about that. The extra access they give to each other, while at the same time they kind of leave things hidden from other Black folks. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to have that conversation. Instead, we're supposed to do all we can to preserve their positions. Nah, the hell with you. Go. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Y'all need to, because you took whatever advancements that our ancestors made during that time, you took it and you literally just pissed on the whole thing. Because there is no reason why in 2026, Black folks should still be complaining about the same stuff if what you're doing actually worked. There's no reason. There's no reason why we should have Black folks who are in Congress or Senate or whatever that been in there for for decades, and their district has nothing to show for it. But yet, every time they know, all they got to do is come election time, all they got to do is bring up, but the white people, we can't let them win, because if they win, they're going to take over, and Jim Crow, and then, whatever. All they got to do is throw out Jim Crow and lynchings and all this other stuff. And it's so obvious to sit back and look at these older people, these boule types and Black Greek letter organization types on social media that are out here trying their hardest to try to push this, boycott thing, because they keep posting these old black and white pictures like that's going to have some kind of impact on this generation. They don't care about that. They don't. I'm saying that. I'm saying that. I'm saying that. I'm not saying I don't care. You understand? In other words, that's part of our history. We keep it and all that stuff. We preserve it and all that stuff. But you showing a picture from 1930 of a black person not going to a water fountain, let me help you out. Yes, that did happen. But this generation today, they're not experiencing any of that. Thanks in part to the pushings of our ancestors, what they did, we was able to push the narrative to such a way. And there was other things as well that was behind the scenes, because the United States knew that on a world scale, they couldn't continue on with the BS, what they were doing to black folks. So they did make some changes. It wasn't just our marching and singing and dancing. It wasn't just that. Trust me, the United States made those decisions to change certain things simply for their benefit, not for black folks' benefit. If that was the case, the word black folks would have been mentioned specifically in the Civil Rights Bill, and they're not. We're not, which is really interesting. But who's benefited the most from the Civil Rights Bill has been black folks. Anyway, so this is where we are, you guys. Again, another reminder to you, 2 reminders again, that these people are not for you. They give you something on the front end, but on the back end, it's something completely different. These people all are on the same team, and you need to recognize that. All right. Anyway, if you're just joining us again, thank you again. Really appreciate that, and welcome to the broadcast. So appreciative of that. Make sure you guys again. And I see someone did a $5 contribution. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I wish I could put you on the screen, but I'll read your comment. You said, I remembered I had to play We Shall Overcome at my piano recital, and I couldn't even finish the song. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Because as I'm reading what you just posted, I'm laughing because I already envision it. Let me read it again. It said, I remember I had to play We Shall Overcome at my piano recital, and I couldn't even finish the song. I've never felt right about that song. For real. I'm for real. Can we just stop with it? There's some things. I mean, you ever been to some of these events? Like, I've been to like the black football games and all that, like the big ones they have, like at Thanksgiving or Christmas, the classic games. I've been to those, and they'll have up there, they'll start off, they say, we're going to sing the Black National Anthem. And, they're also doing it, in some of these NFL games. They say, we're going to sing the Black National Anthem. Y'all, how many of y'all know the whole words to that song? I don't even know it. I never knew it. Okay, is it safe now? Can we come out of the shadows now? I never knew the whole, I still don't. If you'd have quizzed me right now on the words of that song, I don't know. I know some highlights of it. It's lift every voice and sing. That's it. That's it. That's about as furthest I can get with it. I'm trying, my mind right now, I'm going through how it ends. It's like, and the home of the break. Well, man, I don't know. Maybe it ends that way. Billie Jean's not my lover. I don't know. I literally, I never knew it. I never knew it. So it's that class of people who do know it and they just really sing it deep in the depths of their heart. It does mean something to them. But what I am saying is that in this generation today, they're not looking at that. You can't, if you have that, if you carry that and you think that you're going to come on down here and I'm going to tell these young people we march for you. They don't care about that. They don't care. They don't care about that. They don't. What they care about is, especially you up here trying to tell them, well, you need to sacrifice, you know, your NIL money. That ain't happening. That you think that's gonna happen? That ain't gonna happen. You think they're gonna? Nope. That ain't gonna happen. Anyway, let's move on to some other news. I want y'all to make sure you stick around to the after we go through some of this other news here, because we're going to talk about this, what's going on in this AI industry. And ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we cannot take serious enough. I mean, what these people are doing, it's really something. Let me see, what was I going to, let me go to my bookmarks here and let me take a look at some of the things that I bookmarked. And let's see. Oh, did you guys see, okay, and I guess, and someone can help me out with this. In DC, they had, you know, they just had the Black Gay Pride Parade. And I'm trying to find it, see if I had any clips I could show you or whatever. But, you know, you just see a sea of black people, man. All black menses and some, you know, they got the dykes too. That was all in there. And anyway, so they call it I guess the nickname of it is the bullpen. Yeah, they call it the bullpen. And you can let your imagination go with that. But yeah, that was like the nickname they were pulling it out here. Let me see if I can find something I am bull. Yeah. Yeah, this is it right here. This is kind of a clip right here. Let me show you. Pull this up on the screen right here. There you go. So I don't know if it's audio or not, but anyway, yep. Just a sea of just black menses that are out here. I saw that, I say, wow. We went from, in my generation, we went from a 1,000,000-man march to the DC bullpen. I said, wow, man. Things are changing so fast. They're changing so fast. But anyway, yeah, they had them, twerking and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I figured I'd show y'all that because I saw that. I was like, man, this, and I saw some other pictures. Man, I keep bringing this up. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. That's not intentional, I promise you. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see. Back up here. Hold on. It was something else. That I had some other things here, and then we're going to get into that AI stuff here in a moment. Let's see. I wrote it down. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention while I'm doing this here. Naomi Osaka, she is the tennis player. She's part Korean and part Haitian. And she recently posted, on her social media about and I'll get to the other stuff in a moment here, but she recently posted on her social media about, I guess there's another, I don't know if it's Wimbledon, something's coming up, right? And so what she did was she sponsored or threw a party for all black tennis players, right? And she put it on social media. And of course, there's a reaction to that. Let's put our finger on that and let me go back a little bit. Now, as you know, like I said, here in the States, right now, as I'm speaking to you, it is Memorial Day. It's a time when this country sits back and kind of reflects on all of those who died for this country, right? So many of us have people in our family who did just that. They, if they didn't die, they had injuries that they're still suffering from, you know what I mean, as a result of fighting in whatever wars, right? So it's a day to pay homage to them. Well, if you do the history, you'll see that it was actually black folks that helped kickstart this whole holiday, which is something, I like I said, again, I love history, like many of you, I'm a historian in the sense of I really value history. I love talking about it and all of that. And so something like that is something of note that we should, particularly us as Black Americans, we do need to take note of that thing, because this is something that today now, we don't want little things like that to just be, I don't know, so kind of like normalized. We forget our contributions to this day. You know what I mean? So it is something of note. But I will say this too, and this is connected to the Naomi Osaka story that I'm about to talk about. What I see though behind that, where people are really pushing that, because today, oh my God, it was so many posts where Black people, we came up with the holiday. Black people, remember, we came up with the holiday. Black people, we came up. And it was like just a fever pitch of this. And I was like, okay, yeah, we did. But it's almost being said like, okay, white man, give me a cookie for doing this. And that's when I'm getting behind it. It's like, okay, what do you expect? What kind of response? Okay, you did it. So what do you expect from that? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that all Black people who are acknowledging that, they're acknowledging it because they want a white person response. But there are many who are. That's the people I'm talking about. So if you're not in that group, I ain't talking about you. But there are people out here, it's a rage bait culture of people putting this stuff out here. It's like, you remember, white people remember we came up with it first. Okay. What you expect what kind of response you think you're gonna get from that? And it's kind of like bragging of the fact that you designed the curtains in the plantation house. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you designed the curtains. Okay, that's good and all that. But do you own or run anything? No. Okay. But I'm not playing it down and saying, oh, it's just another holiday. No, I'm saying it's important. We should remember our people who fought in these wars and all this stuff. I'm all for that. I'm 100% with that. We should memorialize our people. I'm all for that. But what I am saying is that what I'm seeing behind this is almost like you're trying to get some kind of reaction out of white people, which leads me to the Naomi Osaka story. She does this party where she says it's all Black tennis players. Okay, fine. And she puts it on social media. Well, you know what's going to happen. You put it on social media. You know the reaction you're going to get. You know there's going to be people who are going to come out here. Yes, there are racist people out here, just like there are sharks in the ocean. I mean, you're not going to get rid of the sharks. They're always going to be there. Okay? They're there. But you put it on social media because you know the reaction you're going to get for some people. And believe it or not, sometimes it's paid reactions, right? And of course, the reactions come. And it's like I said, again, it's like low-key rage bait, because you know the reaction you're going to get. My point is this: if you're going to do something, let's say if you're doing something, hey, I'm going to have a nice little event. It's just going to be Black folks only or whatever. Then have it. Just enjoy yourself. If you want to have, then just have it. Why has it got to be some big announcement about it? You understand what I'm saying? Well, why we got to keep things hidden and all that? It's not about keeping it hidden. How about just go about your business and do your thing? Why does your business got to be on Main Street? You got to put all your business on Main Street. And then when Main Street, which is made up of all kinds of people, of all kinds of backgrounds, with all kinds of opinions, when Main Street reacts, now all of a sudden, how dare you step into black people business? Well, you put black people business on Main Street and you put billboards out. What do you think is going to happen? What kind of response you think you're going to get? Because this is what you wanted in the first place. And there are a lot of people out here that do this kind of stuff because it's rage bait. They want the reaction. As much as people want to get up here and say that white people are racist and this, that, or whatever, there's a lot of people who sure want their opinions on stuff. They want to see the reactions. They want to continue the debates. They want to see the endless arguments, not fully embracing the fact that this is a cycle that keeps people in. It's a psychological loop where everything you do, you got to make sure that it's in earshot of white people so that you can get a response and you can go back and forth with them. That's tiring to me. I don't care what these people think. When I do stuff, okay, ladies and gentlemen, all white people live in my town. I am black. I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to turn my black music up real loud so that you know I'm a black person. Nobody's doing that. I dart in and out of some of these spaces. They don't even half see me, and I don't even care. Why has everything got to be some big announcement? That's my point. It's like, okay, you did it, so what? Why is it got to, like, it reminds me of, Blue Sky, it was supposed to be the left's response to X. Remember when Elon Musk, when he bought Twitter and then changed it to X, and then you had people all on the left saying, oh my God, Twitter has turned into a racist cesspool and all that. We got to get out of here. We're going to formulate our own platform. And they called it Blue Sky, right? Okay, fine. Then go over there and have your own circle. That's fine. Then go. If you think that it's so racist on X, you just can't stand it, your little tender ears can't stand it. Oh, damn, these people call me names, even though I call them all kind of stuff. Once they call me names, oh my God, I just fall apart. I got to get somewhere where I'm safe. Okay, well, they created something called Blue Sky. But what's so funny is all of them still got their accounts on X. So it's like you just can't help yourself. You got to stay with the most demented, racist pack of people because you just got to get their response. You got to get their reaction. You got to see what they're saying about you. I really don't live my life like that. I really don't. I don't care what these people think or say. I don't. And you shouldn't either. It's such a really draining way of life to think that way, where you always got to have their opinion about stuff, their input. Can we stop caring about that? Can we stop? Anyway, moving right along, let me see. I had this, and then I'm going to get to that AI video in a moment here. I had something else here. I'm just going through real quick here. There was another video I wanted to show you guys, and then we're going to get to that. I will say this. Oh, yeah, I got to show y'all this video here. This is why, y'all, you got to check people, man. Some of us, man, we be saying some stuff, man, and it's like, ain't even passed by Google. Ain't even passed by ChatGPT on any of this stuff. We just be saying stuff. We take a listen to this individual here. All right, let me turn the volume up.
You know why black people run away when we laugh? Because we weren't allowed to laugh on those plantations. This is stuff that lives in us, y'all. This ain't nothing new, y'all. That's why y'all going, oh, what? Yeah, it lives in us. That doesn't just go away like she said. And if we don't start unpacking it seriously, it will also be the end of us. You know why black people run away when we laugh? Because we weren't allowed to laugh on those plantations. This is stuff that
my gosh. He said the reason why black people run away when we laugh is because on the plantations we weren't allowed to laugh. Do you know how many celebrations they used to have on plantations? Jumping the broom. They would do that. Yes, Massa would allow that. Massa would allow the slaves to gather and to party and have a good time. Remember we talked about, what was it, Congo Square, both in Louisiana and New Orleans and in Philadelphia. These were whole squares where black people would celebrate and just find some way of releasing, if you will, you know, in light of being in a slave society. They would do this all the time. We were known for that. And she's up here talking about reason why we run away when we laugh is because we weren't allowed to laugh. You know, I would have to stop. I would have had to stop her on that. I would have had to stop her on that. Oh my goodness. Meanwhile, Chris Brown. We did a video on this a while back. These PhD mills. Chris Brown, ladies and gentlemen, received his honorary PhD from, I think it was Harvest International.
Dr. Chris Brown, who is receiving his honorary doctorate in visual and performing arts.
Let's go.
Just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, HCU.
Harvest Christian University, that's what it is.
Even, you know, achieve this.
And I can't half understand what he's saying. He received his honorary PhD. Someone said something which it should make you think. I wonder why they don't have honorary associate degrees. You ever wonder that? Why they don't have honorary associate degrees? They just go straight to the top. You got an honorary doctorate. Why don't they have like honorary technical certificates? Honorary medical doctor degrees. Honorary lawyer degrees. They don't. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Anyway, moving on. That was Chris Brown here. Let's see. There's some good vibes here. Hold on. If this was all right so I absolutely love this because I could feel the love in this video here. This was a woman, young woman coming back, from being in deployment, and look at how her brother greets her. I just really felt this one, man. I thought this was so nice.
Fuck it, I'm home.
I thought that was so nice. I thought, sorry. I thought that was so nice, man. You could just feel that, man. That's really something. Anyway, let me move on here. Let me see if I had another one. Then we're going to get to this AI video that you must watch, y'all. Let's see. Here's another one here. I'll play this one. This is good. I'm gonna see if they they got the music on there, but I'll just show you the video here. I think this was good here. We'll show this and then we'll get to that other video here. But it just shows you. I also want to show you too. It's like there are many good things that are happening every day, amongst us as a people. There are some good things, and these are the things we want to highlight as well. And so what you're looking at now, these are people who've been married. Black folks have been married for years. So all the BS that we see on social media, the black woman versus against the black man and all this other stuff, the people who are doing it and are doing it the right way, they're out here. You may not see them on social media doing all kinds of stuff here because they're just too busy living their life and building a solid life. And so I just wanted to show you this here. And I just, again, let this stay, in your mind, that despite the stuff that we see, the crazy stuff we see here on social media, don't let social media be the only filter that you have of black folks, because it's not. It's only a slither of it, and I know it can be very difficult and hard at times because, social media is, and these days for a lot of people, is your only outlet. But what I encourage you to do is always remind yourself of things like this, that you do have people out here who are doing it the right way. They are raising up their families. They love each other, and they're building a solid life together. They're moving forward. They're doing things the right way. So it's something, like I said, always remember that. And it's something even I remind myself too, And so anyway, let's get to Ma and Paul here. Let's see. 49 years. And let's see how long they've been married. 50 years. Wow. I mean, you listen to some of these young people today. Wow, she looked young. I mean, anyway. You listen to some of these people today. Oh, I couldn't imagine being with someone that long. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Well, unfortunately, that's sad because a lot of those people who have been married that long, they are dying off. But there are many who are out here. And, yeah. But also you got to be very careful, too, on which ones you listen to, too. Because some of them, they're not really the best examples. I'll just put it that way. Just because you've been together for that long, it doesn't always mean it's been happily ever after, too. Some of these people, it's... You know what I mean? You got to use your discernment, too, on some of these people that you listen to. But there are some good examples out there. Anyway, I wanted to drop this little thought here, and then we'll get to our final segment of this broadcast here. Something I have been thinking about is this, and I want to put this in your ear, too, is that we have this thought in our minds, I think, as black folks, is that we think that all black people, we are to be together in this one conglomerate, and we all move together in this one big thing, movement, whatever it may be, right? We've been trained to think that way. But the reality is, let me turn your attention to lions. Lions, if you were to put a bunch of lions in one big space, they're not all going to team up and be one big lion group. They call a group, a small group of lions called a pride, right? They're not going to formulate into one pride. They're going to separate. They're still lions. They still recognize each other as lions, but they're going to separate, right? And so likewise, so nature is teaching us something here. So likewise with us as a people. Now, and this is just people in general. You'll see this in other people groups, but I also want to put that in your ear too, as if you're watching, you a black person, I want to put that in your ear as well. Stop thinking, if you are someone that thinks this way, that all black people you see, we're all supposed to be on one accord. Truth of the matter is it's almost an impossibility. It just is. You understand? However, there are people, black folks, that will come across your life that you will latch on to, and you guys will formulate your own pride. You're not walking. It doesn't mean you hate black people any less, but you're going to draw you're gonna be attracted to people who you have a shared interest, all of that stuff. You're going to attract those people in your life. You should, you know what I mean? And but that's usually how that works. But to think that all lions are all going to hang out together and be one big pride, that just doesn't happen. It doesn't. And so we shouldn't expect any less when it comes to when we see each other. You know what I'm saying? I know it gets, like for me, I had this hang up where, because some of this stuff is a little bit much, because it's like, when you don't even acknowledge each other at all on the streets, I do have a problem with that. I'm not expecting some long conversation and brotherhood and all that kind of stuff, but at least an acknowledgement. Now that's a problem. But to automatically expect that you're going to go into a black space and everybody, you're just moving into family, it's not realistic. It really isn't. Especially with some of the dynamics that we're dealing with today in today's society. It's something I just want you to keep that in mind, and I've been really thinking about that. So anyway, let's move on to the last segment of our broadcast today. I've been telling you guys, I said this AI thing, this AI revolution is something that we definitely need to pay very close attention to. The people, the powers that shouldn't be, who are leading the way, they do not care about you. They don't care about people at all. They don't. For them, it's a religion. Again, I was telling my wife today, I was driving through a part of town and all I see is 5G towers. Antennas all over the place, like literally all over the place. And the antennas, and I'm not talking about like the antennas that look like, the standard mobile, antennas that we see for mobile phones. I'm not talking about that, because most of the time they don't look like that anymore. Now they're just little tiny things they attach on light poles. And it doesn't matter the community. I've been in rundown communities. I've been in, middle income communities. I've been high end communities or whatever. And they're all over the place. They're all over the place. And the amount of radiation that is blasting on us as individuals is something that we have to take very seriously. I also talked about these EV cars, electronic vehicle cars, and what it's actually doing. See, we see it as a benefit. We think that, oh man, we're in the future, it's making things easier for us and this, that, or whatever. But what we don't realize is that these are information gatherers. And what I talked about is the way Elon Musk, he even talked about this. The cars themselves are actually constantly, every time you're driving around, they are gathering information, intel about the environment around them. And they're also gathering information or intel on you as an individual and how you respond to stuff. And the moment you press the button to turn the car on, it is recording information of its surroundings and you. Okay. Well, what do you think all of that data needs? Where do you think it goes? It just goes in a little 8-track or something? No, it goes to a data center. This is why they're building so many freaking data centers, because of the enormous amount of data that is being collected on a daily basis, right? And they're taking this because these people want to duplicate everything we see with our natural eyes. They want to create a digitized version of it. If you're someone that likes cartoons, especially some of these more mature cartoons or whatever, I would encourage you to look up one called Pantheon. Pantheon. Take a look at that. Look that up if you can find it. It was on Netflix. It might still be on Netflix, not sure. But if you have Netflix, look it up. It's called Pantheon. And when I tell you, I've watched that series 2 times and I'm getting ready to watch it again, because it is that accurate in terms of what these people are really trying to do. And but again, it's called Pantheon. Okay. And so what they want to do is duplicate everything, because why? Because this is their way of controlling everything. That's how they want to do it, while trying to convince you that the real you is the persona that you create on social media. You understand? So as long as they can get humans to tie themselves to the persona that they create for themselves on social media, then people are already connected to what they're trying to do. And so, so these data, anyway, so I don't want to get too far ahead on this, but I want to play for you this video that I came across as part of a much longer conversation. I'm going to watch this thing in its entirety on my own and take some notes, because what this guy was saying was just, I was just like, man, this is really something. So anyway, let me find it for you real quick here. It'll only take a minute. Okay, I found it. And I think there's two videos actually I want to show you. All right, so let me pull this up here.
Private conversations about this subject matter with people that are in the industry.
Absolutely. I think that's what most people don't understand, is that there's a different conversation happening publicly than the one that's happening privately. I think you're aware of this as well.
I am aware of this.
What do they say to you?
So it's not always the people telling me directly. It's usually one step removed. So it's usually someone that I trust and I've known for many, many years, who at a kitchen table says, I met this particular CEO, we were in this room talking about the future of AI. This particular CEO they're referencing is leading one of the biggest AI companies in the world. And then they'll explain to me what they think of the future is going to look like. And then when I go and watch them on YouTube or podcasts, what they're saying is they have this real public bias towards the abundance part, we're going to cure cancer.
Cure cancer, universal high income for everyone.
Yeah, all this stuff.
People won't have to work anymore.
But then privately, what I hear is exactly what you said, which is really terrifying to me. There was actually, since the last time we had a conversation about AI on this podcast, I was speaking to a friend of mine, very successful billionaire, knows a lot of these people, and he is concerned because his argument is that if there's even like a 5% chance of the adverse outcomes that we hear about, we should not be doing this. And he was saying to me that some of his friends who are running some of these companies believe the chance is much higher than that, but they feel like they're caught in a race where if they don't control this technology and they don't get there first and get to what they refer to as takeoff, like fast takeoff.
Yeah, recursive self-improvement or fast takeoff, which basically means what the companies are really in a race for, you're pointing to, is they're in a race to automate AI research. So right now, you have OpenAI, it's got a few thousand employees. Human beings are coding and doing the AI research. They're reading the latest research papers, they're writing the next, they're hypothesizing what's the improvement we're gonna make to AI, what's a new way to do this code, what's a new technique. And then they use their human mind and they go invent something, they run the experiment and they see if that improves the performance. And that's how you go from GPT-4 to GPT-5 or something. Imagine a world where Sam Altman can, instead of having human AI researchers, can have AI researchers. So now I just snap my fingers and I go from one AI that reads all the papers, writes all the code, creates the new experiments, to I can copy paste 100 million AI researchers that are now doing that in an automated way. And the belief is not just that the companies look like they're competing to release better chatbots for people, but what they're really competing for is to get to this milestone of being to automate an intelligence explosion or automate recursive self-improvement, which is basically automating AI research. And that, by the way, is why all the companies are racing specifically to get good at programming. Because the faster you can automate a human programmer, the more you can automate AI research. And just a couple weeks ago, Claude 4.5 was released, and it can do 30 hours of uninterrupted complex programming tasks at the high end. That's crazy.
So right now, one of the limits on the progress of AI is that humans are doing the work.
Yes.
But actually, all of these companies are pushing to the moment when AI will be doing the work, which means they can have an infinite, arguably smarter, zero-cost workforce.
That's right.
Scaling the AI. So when they talk about fast takeoff, they mean the moment where the AI takes control of the research and progress rapidly increases.
And it self-learns and recursively improves and invents. So one thing to get is that AI accelerates AI, right? Like if I invent nuclear weapons don't invent better nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But if I invent AI is intelligence. Intelligence automates better programming, better chip design. So I can use AI to say, here's a design for the NVIDIA chips. Go make it 50% more efficient, and it can find out how to do that. I can say, AI, here's a supply chain that I need for all the things for my AI company, and it can optimize that supply chain and make that supply chain more efficient. AI, here's the code for making AI. Make that more efficient. AI, here's training data. I need to make more training data. Go run 1 million simulations of how to do this, and it'll train itself to get better.
What
So
do you think
AI accelerates AI.
What do you think these people are motivated by? The CEOs of these companies?
That's a good question.
Genuinely, what do you think their genuine motivations are? When you think about all these names.
Listen.
I think it's a subtle thing.
Listen.
I think there's, it's almost mythological because there's almost a way in which they're building a new intelligent entity that has never before existed on planet Earth. It's like building a god. I mean, the incentive is build a god, own the world economy, and make trillions of dollars. Right? If you could actually build something that can automate all intelligent tasks, all goal achieving, that will let you outcompete everything. So that is a kind of godlike power that I think imagine energy prices go up or hundreds of millions of people lose their jobs. Those things suck. But relative to if I don't build it first and build this god, I'm going to lose to some maybe worse person who I think, in my opinion, not my opinion, Tristan, but their opinion thinks is a worse person. It's a kind of competitive logic that self-reinforces itself. But it forces everyone to be incentivized to take the most shortcuts, to care the least about safety or security, to not care about how many jobs get disrupted, to not care about the well-being of regular people, but to basically just race to this infinite prize. So there's a quote that a friend of mine interviewed a lot of the top people at the AI companies, like the very top, and he just came back from that and basically reported back to me and some friends, and he said the following. In the end, a lot of the tech people I talk to, when I really grill them on it, about like why you're doing this, they retreat into number 1, determinism. Number 2, the inevitable replacement of biological life with digital life. And number 3, that being a good thing anyways. At its core, it's an emotional desire to meet and speak to the most intelligent entity that they've ever met. And they have some ego-religious intuition that they'll somehow be a part of it. It's thrilling to start an exciting fire. They feel they'll die either way, so they prefer to light it and see what happens.
Have you had concerning private conversations about this subject matter with people that are in the industry?
Absolutely. I think that's what most people don't understand is that there's a different conversation happening publicly than the one that's happening privately. I think you're aware of this as well.
I am aware of this.
What do they say to you?
Okay, so it's in there. All right. Boy, there's a lot there, isn't it? So for these people, the Elon Musk of the world and some of these other people, it's a religion for them. And this is something that people need to understand, that this is a religion for them. And they are pushing, like Elon Musk. And I have this other video here. Maybe I'll play this one too, because this woman, she goes into a little bit of that. Let's see. I'll just play it and let's go.
Elon Musk filed paperwork to take SpaceX public at a valuation approaching $2 trillion. When that happens, it'll become the largest IPO in human history. And at that valuation, Musk is on track to become the world's first trillionaire. And that sounds like a story about wealth. I don't think it is. This is a story about infrastructure. Because buried inside SpaceX long-term vision is something most people miss. 1 million people on Mars. Think about that for a second. Not a mission, not a research station, a city of 1 million people. And if that's the destination, then everything starts looking different. The rockets look different. The satellites look different. The orbital data centers look different. Because suddenly you're not building products. You're building the infrastructure for expansion beyond Earth itself. And while I was thinking about that part, something else happened. AOC stood in Congress holding 2 jars of brown water. Because while we are talking about Mars, orbital compute, and trillion-dollar valuations, we are still arguing about something much simpler here on Earth. Water. The thing every human being needs to survive. And this is where the story gets strange. The industry argues that AI will help solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. Maybe it will. Maybe parts of it already are. But the infrastructure making that promise still has to exist somewhere. It still needs land, power, water. And all over the world, we are building more of it. Bigger, faster, and more powerful. So then comes the next step. Move the servers upward. Scale beyond land, beyond local constraints. Scale beyond the earth itself. Maybe that works. Maybe parts of it genuinely do. But that's not the part I'm stuck on. The part I'm stuck on is the contrast. Because humans survived before AI. Humans survived before the internet. Humans survived before data centers. We have never survived without water. We have never survived without clean air. $1 trillion valuation is not survival. A city on Mars is not survival. Technology is not survival. And the moment we start treating them as the same thing, I think we've lost sight of something more important. The servers are leaving Earth. The question is what they're leaving behind. Stay close. Elon Musk filed paperwork to take SpaceX public.
So, yeah, this is the reality. This is the new reality that we're in right now. And if you were to take the time to, as you listen to these individuals here, they're telling you, like Elon Musk and some of these other people, you know, they, like they said, they always try to lead out with, oh, we're gonna solve cancer, we're gonna solve AIDS, we're gonna solve this, we're gonna solve that, and we can do that. And that might be true, but the way, honestly, that they'll be able to solve it is by making sure that as many people as possible are dead. Okay, that's how you solve it, by you cut off everybody's water. Well, you just solved a lot of diseases right there. I mean, just like that, just like magic. But the part I want you to really focus in on is the fact that for these people, this is a religion. AI for them is a religion. We may have fun with it, make our little cartoons, make our music and stuff with it or whatever, but these individuals, it is a religion for them. They are building a God. They're building a God. And you could say, well, I'm not going to take part in it. I'm canceling my ChatGPT account, or I'm canceling this. It doesn't matter. If you have a computer, if you're on the internet, if you have a cell phone or whatever, it is all intertangled in technology, period. Everything is part of it, period. And they are constantly collecting data on you. The flock cameras, for example, flock, F-L-O-C-K. Look it up. See if they're using it in your community. These are cameras that they have strategically placed all throughout many communities in the United States, where they are nonstop recording information on anybody or anything that walks past them. I saw this one clip of an individual who he was showing, because he was able to access one of them, and he was able to show someone they were just at the park rollerblading. And the guy that was rollerblading, he was looking at something on YouTube. He was able, the AI, not him, not the guy that was accessing it, AI zoomed in on its own on the guy's phone and looked at what was on his screen and was able to identify, oh, he's looking at a YouTube video about rollerblading. It was able to identify, but it did it on its own. It literally did it on its own. And so these flock cameras all over the place. Just recently in the nearby town, the townspeople, they're like, hey, wait a minute now. You know, we're starting to hear about these flock cameras now. And we want to make sure we don't have them around here. Do we have them here? And then they were like, I don't know, you know, whatever. And so the chief of police, he was there. They were asking them, they said, listen, do we have them? And is ICE using them? You know, because it's like, okay, what does ICE, I don't care about that part. You know, do you have them or not? I mean, they shouldn't even be here, period, right? But anyway, the people in the community, they were concerned because is ICE using it to gather information on people who shouldn't be in this country, right? That's how they were looking at it. I don't care the angle, but they were hitting the point. And so the police chief, he was like, well, not sure. I'm going to look into it or whatever. Well, he discovered that, yeah, they do have them. And in fact, they had one planted right outside of a school. So round the clock, you got cameras out here that are collecting information. And I want you to understand something. This is not just the government. Stop thinking that the government is the only institution that's running things here. We live in a series of corporations. How many times you got to watch the movie series Aliens, where you got the one corporation that runs everything, right? Look at, what was it? There's so many shows I can point you to where they always talk about this one big industry or industries that run pretty much everything. We live in a world today that's how it's run. You have industries that run everything, right? I could talk about how, you remember we talked about, and I'm just going to remind you this again. You remember I told you, what was it, some months ago in Israel, they had all of these preachers come over there and said that we want you to basically swear that you're going to make sure that you're going to be ambassadors for Israel. And we identified those denominations that were represented. Church of God in Christ was there. AME was there, and there was another one that was there too. These are black denominations that were there. They were represented in Israel, promising that they will be ambassadors. Now, why am I saying this? Because Israel works with a company that will, what they're doing, it works with a company that installs geofencing. They install geofencing at these churches. Now, what does that mean? So basically what's happening is that these churches that are saying that they are co-signing with Israel, they are agreeing to work with these Israeli companies that will install geofencing. What does that mean? Basically, when you go to church, once you hit a certain part in that church, and within range of that church, your phone will automatically start picking up advertisements and different content that is pro-Israel. Okay, that's what they're doing now. You got black denominations that have co-signed on this stuff, along with all the other churches as well. So you have companies that are running everything that we see around us. You think it's just Trump? Everybody's got their attention on Trump. And Trump, he's just a figurehead. We live in a series of corporations. They control all of this stuff that we see. So getting back to these flock cameras, that's data that they're collecting. Where do you think that data is going? It's going to the data centers. And they're collecting nonstop information from the time you walk outside to whenever. They are collecting information on you. Always. Wherever you go, they are collecting information on you. And these stupid, these teen takeover things, it just, I had to take a few days. There were days I was going to go live. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because my mind wasn't in the right place. I could not, I didn't want to get on here and be just, I know when I got to pull back. I know when I got to get myself together. You know what I mean? But these they call them teen takeovers. It's actually black teen takeovers. And let me just give you a quick story on that. It's in Long Branch, New Jersey. Of course, I was born in South Philly. I was born in Philly, but raised in South Jersey. So I'm very familiar with New Jersey, Philadelphia, the tri-state area. That's my own backyard. I know those areas very well, right? Well, you have certain beaches that black folks would always go to in New Jersey, right? It was usually Ocean City. Atlantic City is on top of that. Atlantic City, Ocean City, Wildwood, and maybe Cape May, right? Those are the main beaches that most black people will go to. I mean, as long as I can remember, those are our beaches, right? Now, when you start going up north towards New York, there's some beaches like you got Avalon. It's a nice, beautiful beach town. It's very calm, very quiet, that kind of thing, but it's very nice. You got Long Branch. Is it Long Branch or Long Beach? I mean, Long Beach, another area there. It's Barnegat, was the Barnegat Bay area up there. We used to take class trips up there or whatever, but those are very calm, very serene areas, right? But those areas are also known to be quite let's say, unwelcoming. They weren't really, when it come to black folks, you didn't see too many black folks up there with reason, with good reason. I mean, I ain't talking about they were burning crosses up there or anything like that. It wasn't like that, but you just know when it's like, okay, let me just dip my toe in here a little bit and let me get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Is that those kind of areas, right? So, and, places like Avalon, for example, you had a lot of retired police officers from New York City that will move places like that. Avalon, some of these other, like Long Branch, Long Beach or whatever. You got a lot of people from New York, older white people that live there, a lot of Italians and, Irish, all that live in these areas. So, being the demographic and all of that, they, still hold on to some of these, whatever, racist ideologies or whatever. Okay. So again, I'm gonna stress to you, when cross burning areas, these are just areas where it was like, yeah, this is their area. You know what I mean? That's all you kind of knew. But otherwise, I mean, there were times we would visit there. It was fine. We would go there, no problem, But anyway, so times have changed, right? Demographics have changed. Ideas have changed. People's opinions have slowly changed. So over the years, you started seeing these areas slowly begin to change over where they're starting to warm up to, okay, all right, we're going to let folks come in and all of that stuff. So that is something that has happened over years, right? And so those areas now, you're starting to see more, you've been seeing more black folks going there. Well, enter in what just happened recently in, I think it was in Long Beach or Long Branch, one of the two, where they had one of these teen takeovers where, again, just imagine a very calm, peaceful beach town, and black kids by the thousands showed up there. They were doing everything from twerking. They were doing all kinds of stuff. It got so bad, they had to call the riot police, and they had to issue a stay-in order for the other beachgoers that were there in the restaurants and all that. They said, don't even come out, because they were just wrecking things up. And I just sat up there and I was like, wow, the amount of progress that had been made in these areas in one weekend, it just went out the window. And it just made me very angry, because you got people out here that actually give reason why people act the way they do towards us. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyway, and then there was some other things, Black Bike Weekend, something else broke out there too. I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, these things are happening all over the country. All of these little outbreaks that are happening that involve us, it's all being recorded. All of that, when you see these data centers going up, guess what's going in there? That kind of stuff. And the AI systems are making decisions based off of that information, based off of that data that we're feeding the system. So these flock cameras and all of that stuff, all of that's going to data center, that's going all there, and they're feeding it to their God that they are creating. And they're saying, okay, God, how would you handle this? How should we figure this out? How should we fix this? That's what's happening in real time all the time. And when you get people that get out here and act like complete jackasses and doing this kind of stuff, you are making it worse in the future. You think you think Jim Crow is bad. Just imagine how AI is going to start acting based on the data that we've been feeding it. It's going to start looking at certain people. You got to play this all the way out. But a lot of people don't want to do that because we think about the here and now, and that's it. So please take to heart. I would really encourage you to follow closely this AI thing, because it is moving very fast, and they are turning, and I know, Coach, you can probably attest to this as well. There are companies that are turning over massive parts of their operation over to AI, and they're like, well, I don't know where it's going to go. I just know it works. I just know it's more efficient. I'm just going to turn it over. You have companies that are doing this stuff every day, where they're just trading their brain for AI and saying, AI, you handle it. And, you know, we love seeing our graduates after they're going through school and they're getting their degrees and all that stuff. Listen, I'm not tripping over, you know, you got people out here tripping over the fact that these college students are dancing and, you know, twerking and all that kind of stuff at their graduation. I could give two craps about that because, see, my question is, okay, where you going to be in the next couple of months? What was your degree in? Because for a lot of these kids, unfortunately, their degrees are null and void for what is here now. And on top of that, you're in thousands of dollars in debt. So you want to dance, go ahead and you better get your dance in now because reality is setting in and it's setting in very quickly. So I would really encourage you again, just follow this very closely from the data centers to the flock cameras, all of that stuff here. You know, make sure you follow this, folks, because these people are really trying to eliminate human biological life. That's what they're doing. They know that Elon Musk and all these other people, they're zealots. They are so tied into this God that they're building. They know that they're going to die. But in their minds, it's kind of like, well, 100,000 people are going to be without water. So what? We all going to die anyway. They're making decisions for you. So again, just like I said, just follow it. I know we'll continue to follow this very important topic here, and let's just stay focused, y'all. Stay sharp, and that's it. So I know we covered quite a bit on this broadcast here. I hope you guys got something out of it. Like, share, whatever, subscribe. You know, the same line that everybody says, whatever, or not. You don't have to like me. Don't care. Never live for that at all. But I hope that what you do appreciate is the fact that we root what we say on truth, and we encourage you to do likewise. So if you can respect that, then maybe we can start talking about liking each other. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to this broadcast. And listen, you guys take care, and we will be talking again next time. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.